What up, YouTube? It's a little bit late, but I couldn't sleep, so I thought I'm gonna just make a video that I've been meaning to make. This is a really important video. Uh, I think it's really relevant what I want to talk about here. To a lot of young men's lives, and I really want to talk about, why good men, um, are made to feel like children. Like they're not made to feel like actual strong capable men to be feared, and I want to talk about how the lack of monogamy turns to aggression and apathy and you know lust and violence and various things like that are kind of complicated, but I'm gonna try to break it down. um so I had an experience a few months back where I was talking with this girl who was a friend of my friend, right? And she didn't know that I go to church. So I told her, I said, oh yeah, I go to church on Sundays, right? And then she was like, oh, that's so cute, that's so sweet that you go to church. Oh. And she treated me like a you know like a little baby, like a little child, right? And I reflected on that, and I mean, I'm thankful that this happened. It kind of bothered me at the time, but I'm thankful that this happened, because when I reflected on that, you know I I went to somebody that is kind of like a mentor to me, and I talked to them about that. And I was like, why did she do that? And then it occurred to me. I asked them, I was like, is that a sign that she's overly sexually experienced, right? Like, she would only do that, like, because that's their version of adulthood. That's the modern version of adulthood. Is if you are sexually experienced, you're an adult, and if you're not, you're a child, right? So she saw me as someone goes to church, oh, I'm an innocent child, right? And what you know man wants to feel like that? No man wants to be like, I mean, of course I don't want them to treat me like I'm a rough old man, but I also don't want to be like them, like, oh, you're such a sweet little puppy dog, little child, like, let me pat your head, like what man wants to feel like that? Because a man, it's not like I want to be outright feared, like a gangster, but I want to be feared enough to where they don't treat me like a little kid, right? And that's the problem with modern day society, is that good men are made out to look like children, right? Because sinning is associated with adulthood, and innocence is associated with youth, right? And this is all dumb, right? And then also, I think, like, you could also be considered weak for not going for sex, because it's like almost like, well, society allows it, so if you don't do it, you must not be courageous, you must not have the aggressiveness in you to go after what you want, so you're just considered weak for not playing that game. Because marriage used to be more like a negotiation, like, it's like a conversation. You get with someone and you figure them out, and you decide if you're a match, and then you get together. It's not this game of aggression where you just go after things, right? So it used to be like, you're not weak for not trying to have sex with somebody. It just is what it is, right? So society is effed up in that way, and I think this is the dilemma that many young men are facing. They feel like they're not a man if they don't sin, right? If they don't, try to have sex, right? And I think what happens is that this leads to lots of lust, right? this leads to lots of lust, and that lust that you're really looking for is you just want to feel like a man, right? I feel like that's like the core of it. um and it's almost like this weird thing where like men who expect to to for the process of dating to go in this ideal Disney type way, or like, where things just go well and smoothly and happily ever after, like it's almost like men who expect this are seen as naive. It's like you're not even a useful man unless you understand evil. Like that's how it is, because the dating game, or it is a game now, it became so evil and wrong that in order to even be seen as a useful man, you have to actually understand that evil, right? It's like it doesn't make any sense. So now men who aren't prepared, men who are not aware of the games and the manipulation, they're actually seen as naive. So it's almost like, I don't know, it's this messed up thing. um and I think all this lack of monogamy is just straight leading to aggression, because it's like, you never really know, like sex has kind of become like a currency, right? And you never know which men have gotten more, right? So it's like this weird feeling of like, you know you don't know where you stand, right? Like you think, oh, that guy got more girls than me, oh, that, or that girl gave up herself to him but maybe not me, and you never really know what happened. So it's this constant feeling of like, you don't know where you stand, right? You don't know what guy has more of that currency than you, what guy, had more girlfriends than you, whatever. and and then there's a secondary anger, because most, at the same time, you don't even want to play that game. Like a lot of us men, we just want one good woman, right? One good wife. So we don't even want to feel like, why do I have to feel inadequate because I didn't have, you know, this many girls? Like most men don't even want to have to play that game, but a lot of the time, we feel sucked into it because of like what I said, you want to feel like a man. So it drives you back into lust, and then, you want to go for more women, and it's all bad. It's a really bad thing. Um, and I think the worst part about it is that, in modern society, as a man, you can build up so much strength and build up your whole entire life just to get with a woman who's already slept with multiple men or whatever. And I feel like this is where men are in this predicament, right? Where like they want to feel like a man, they want to feel like their strength is adequate, um, you know, and they want to feel like they get in a relationship with in a truly monogamous marriage, right? Where they don't have to think about her having been with other men. But they arrive there, and now it's like they can't even be in a monogamous relationship because the woman was already with people in the past, or if you're a woman, the man was already with someone in the past. And I feel like this, on an unconscious level, it's driving men to be aggressive and like irritated, because they want to be the hero, they want to save the day, they want to go get that woman, and she's the only one who devoted herself to him. But at the end of the day, it's like his strength and everything he built up in himself, his income, education, it's all not enough for him to feel like she's the only, or like she chose him solely. It's not enough for him to feel like he's the only one that she picked. And I feel like this is just kind of driving men kind of mad, right? It's like, at least partially apathy. Oh, I don't even want to try. you know, because if I'm not the main ass hero, the main character in her life, why should I even try? And then the other part of it is, well, I need to win this game that is left, you know. All I can do is try to win, you know, to the extent that I can, to, you know, get a woman that's pretty or whatever. So then you just constantly like, well, I don't care about dating because it's so screwed up. But if I don't play, I can't. If I don't win, then I'm not an adequate man, and I need to prove to myself that I'm an adequate man who can get a woman. So you're constantly stuck between this apathy and irritation, right?